down. Should I put on a timer? Yeah, there we go. It's nice and safe. If I make a little squeal, I think I've dropped my coffee. And today we are back at Victoria Park. It's a bit of a busy day, but what side are we on today?
What side? I don't even know what side this is. I'm guessing it's kind of like the West End, but I'm not too sure.
So we are back here today. It's actually a warm day. I thought it was going to be cold. So I'm wearing this jacket that I finally got in the mail. What are you wearing today? Oh, by the way, it's the 94 Adidas USA merch jacket.
Yeah, nice. We've got a 94 vibe going on today.
You do too.
That was unplanned.
I actually was listening to a podcast by Giant Media, which is for Mundial Mag, and it was about Paul McGrath against Baggio, and I can't remember the player that went up to him, shook his hand and said that was the best game, but Baggio gets mentioned a lot. Baggio was a part of the 94 World Cup, yeah? That was his big game?
Yeah, that was where he missed that penalty against Brazil. And
yes.
Caused them to lose.
Well, we didn't plan this vibe today. That's actually really good.
Yeah, it's clever. I like this. This is good. Yeah, I don't know. 94 World Cup is definitely something that's amazing. It's actually a really good one. If you can go back and watch it, it's one of those tournaments. It's next level. Like, especially being in the USA, obviously is a little bit different because it's not as mainstream there. But obviously they know how to put on events, so they did something.
They
really
do.
special.
I think I saw someone on Twitter the other day, one of Australia's football media, posted the Italy World Cup mascot. Do you remember that mascot? It's like a stick figure.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a bendy looking,
A weird looking
character.
thing, yeah?
It's like a lanky like. off
Well,
side.
the best thing about like the French World Cup and even the US World Cup is they had the rooster and they had the dog
the
for
dog's sick.
US.
Yeah.
They're by far my two favorite mascots.
Yeah.
Of any sport, to be honest, even like Olympics.
Yeah, I love the dog. I remember my grandpa. He had this little like figurine that he used to leave on his like dash.
Yeah.
And then he passed away years later, and I got to keep this little figurine. So I've got this USA 94 dog, little mascot that does nothing, just a little toy, but it's really cool.
I think now, and this is the thing we're talking about, it's the obsession with collecting things. And like I'm actually in this, I think 2021, I found this new obsession with 94 World Cup. And I think even just, let's just say the French World Cup and the US World Cup merch, like I bought a coffee cup and my wife said to me, why are you drinking from a cup that's almost 30 years old or almost older than you? And I'm like, it's merch. Like it's so hard to find. I've spent a lot of money on that. Would you agree that you get it like almost excited when you find something?
Yeah, 100%. Like I was having this chat with a relative yesterday, and we were just talking about vintage items and how they've come back into play. Where say even say 10 years ago, it would have been like an op shop would be like a thing for like elderly women that liked collecting china and like plates and glasses and things. And now it's come back into a thing where it's like it's fashion. We can wear it. It's something that you can sort of support that culture that you like to be a part of.
It's funny because like here in Australia, I think the vintage scene has been growing for many years, and the roof's about to fall apart. I think savers and all these like sort of salvos was a big thing in the early 2000s after we all graduated, I think 2009. And everyone was addicted in buying your like someone else's grandpa's jumpers and random sweaters and just all these random things, and we're collecting. I think cameras were doing a big thing, like the 35 mils. But I remember reading an article recently that in 2017, Vice magazine UK stated that the football jersey scene is growing to the point where collectors have found a market for it. Do you think it has been brewing for a long time, and now we're at this stage in the pandemic era where it's really easy to just look for kits online?
Yeah, absolutely. Like going from, you could see that there was a progression, right? And not only with vintage items, with more modern ones as well. And I think they both kind of play hand in hand with one another, obviously, because one eventually turns into the other.
Literally.
From the vintage sense, obviously, there's that nostalgic feeling as well that's associated with the shirt, whether you support the team or not. And then obviously going back to like the product, the current shirts, it's a team where it's a thing where you want the new, you want the what's out now, new technology. There's a different type of enticement. But there's definitely something to it, and I think there's a lot of people that are going to get hooked to this sort of thing.
Look, there's a lot of things over our time. I think, Pokemon cards, card collecting has always been a big thing. I remember collecting Pokemon cards when I was young, and then my mum threw them out. Beyblades, Dragon Ball Z stuff, Digimon, a lot, even Tarzos, just anything, Pez. I was that kid that loved collecting everything. And now as I got older, and I think one of my favorite TikToks is that saying where it's like when you have adult money, you can do adult things and buy adult things. And it's always like the stupidest things. But I feel that the internet and the world of social media has become a bit of a schoolyard where it's like peer pressure. Would you agree? Or
Yeah, look, well, it makes it accessible, right? So whether it's perception too. So if you feel the pressure, yes, it is going to be peer pressure or just pressure in general from social media points of view. The flip side to that is obviously the positive, which is if it is something you're enjoying and it is a hobby that you get a lot of fulfillment out of, it's very readily available for you.
Yeah, it's true. I think, for example, I remember the time at school. I went to trade cards with certain kids, and he dodged me and like gave me the wrong card, and I felt like I was heartbroken. I was like, oh my god. I think that was the first time I realized that I had this sort of attachment to an item.
Yeah.
And I think now it's almost as if we go on Twitter or Instagram and almost everyone, like, you know, you and I are probably like a bad scenario for this, where we're bad influence, not bad scenario, but bad influence, where we both have this sort of, not obsession, but we have this liking to these kits and this sort of culture, and it's growing, and I think a lot of us have become friends in the community. And there's the smaller fish and bigger fish scenario where we sort of feed the ego, but feed that sort of energy to people where they want to be a part of it and they start buying kits. Do you think with everyone it's just about limits? Like everything in life has to have a limit, you know? But do you think that we've sort of been bad influences? Or what's your take on all this?
Yeah, look, we can't be seen as the blame for all of the cause, I don't think. I
Yeah,
think,
of course.
We're here obviously for the same reason, because we both love football, we both love football kits, and it's what helped develop our friendship, and it's what helped gain friends through the same sort of platform. I think it definitely needs to be cause for caution, right? I guess it's like any collection when you're paying for one, right? It's not like coins or stamps where you come across them and you keep them. I know my grandfather used to collect both of those.
Oh yeah, same.
And it was probably a little bit different too when we were kids, and your parents are paying for Pokemon cards, so they're in control of the financial scenario.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, like you said, being an adult and paying for adult things gives you that flexibility, but obviously at the same time now, banks are giving away credit cards for fun. So realistically, you can go and get a $5,000 credit card, wax it all on something you don't really need, and then all of a sudden end up in a pretty tight scenario.
Well, that's true. At the moment, everyone is talking about, Bitcoins and all this sort of stuff where it comes to online trading and marketing stocks, or as everyone calls them, stonks. Now, the peer pressure is there. Like, there's a lot of people saying, join it. It's going to be fun. Like, just invest $5. You buy a coffee every day, go buy it. And I think that's the sort of pressure I'm talking about that isn't sort of evidentful in the kit scene, but I think there's a lot of people talking in the kit scene saying that if someone collects doesn't mean you have to collect or spend all your money. So what I'm trying to say is, what I see from people in that sort of, what would you call it, Bitcoin, what's that community called again? Like the online currency?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of those investors or entrepreneurs, they do pressure a lot of people. It's like, hey, join eToro. It's like everyone's a walking
It's
ad.
like a pyramid scheme.
But yeah, literally, like Herbalife. Shout out to everyone talking about Herbalife.
Yeah,
like
your health,
literally,
those guys.
you're
Remember
like the
those
biggest
guys.
cults. There's still a few out there left. But I think the kit scene, this is my topic that I want to bring up today and talk about. Even though there's someone that that collects kits, I don't think it should be seen as a pressure for you to be collecting kits. Like, if you want to collect kits, you do it at your own pace. And what I'm trying to say is, out there, I think if you want to collect kits, you should do it at your own pace.
Yeah, correct. Look, a lot of these items aren't cheap, and that's probably going to lead into what we're going to talk about next in terms of the price of things. But I think you need to be aware of the fact that these things aren't always cheap and aren't always accessible. Yes, there is circumstances where you can find bargains online and thrift shops and
Heaps of
whatever.
bargains.
Yeah. But there's no, my mum used to always use this stupid saying called keeping up with the Joneses. Right?
Well, that literally is...
Yeah, there's no need. At the end of the day, right, if you're getting enjoyment out of it, great. But don't sacrifice, your mental stability or your mental health for something that, doesn't really give you that fulfillment. And sacrifices that financial.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that whole term, the keeping up with the Joneses, because I was trying to refer to this. Also, while we're doing this episode or before the episode, I was thinking of a topic name for this, and I wanted to name it like a J.K. Rowling book, where it's like the obsession with football kits and how not to spend all your money. But honestly, it is that terminology or even that scenario where it is keeping up with the Joneses, where you see someone buy a bruised banana or you see someone buy a beautiful kit. And I think that's where all the fake kits comes into play, when people get pressure to like get what they want, but don't spend the money and get something cheap. And it's like, I think at the time, football kits are so popular, and because we don't really have much of a social life outdoors, we go online and we see someone having like 10 brand new kits.
Yeah.
And then we see, say, subject A go and spend all their money and then realize they've done a bad mistake.
Yeah, look, I think with that, everyone, whether it's any sort of addiction, right? Like you can become abusive when you get hooked onto it very deeply. It's just a matter of obviously trying to learn one thing, yes, find support, seek support if you need support.
100% seek support.
Whether it be financial, whether it be, just speaking to someone to help you cope with these, addictions or whatever it may be. There's obviously there's thousands of different platforms you can reach out through. Even look, at the end of the day, I know we're both pretty active online. So, even if it's a matter of reaching out to one of us just to have a chat, especially if it's about football kits, if you've, overspent and you're concerned about whatever scenario you're in, just message us. We might be able to help. We might be able to buy them off you, even whether it's something as simple as that, just to help alleviate some of that pressure.
No, that's true. And I'm really fortunate to have someone like yourself, and I've got many others out there that I speak to if I go through a dark stage. And being someone in the creative scene, when I say that, I mean photography, you do go through those slumps where you think to yourself, I'm not good enough. Is my work good enough? So I believe that we all need to reach out if we have a tough time. And I think whatever you collect, there's always, and there should always be, some sort of mental limit for you, because there's moments where obsession goes too far. I think you and I have said this before in an episode, but we like to binge food. We like a good chocolate. And I think that's the biggest problem as well, is knowing your limits. Speeding in a car, these are small things that may seem silly to some people. I think there's a lot of people out there that have the addiction to check their phone while they're driving. That's a sort of bad addiction. I'm not saying football jerseys or collecting is a bad addiction, but passing the limit is the scary part. And I think when you get to that dark area where you're like, I need to stop down, don't be scared to reach out to a friend and have that open conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, it's interesting because, any addiction obviously can be treated or looked at in different
Everything's
ways.
Different.
Yeah, correct. And then,
nothing's the same.
Buying kits just for fun is fine. There's no concern with that. There's no issue with that. But obviously, you got to make sure you're within your financial realms. You made a good point before about the pressure. We were talking about the pressure and keeping up with the Joneses, and you mentioned fake kits as well. I think this is really interesting because obviously there's an honest and dishonest way to go about this. So I think if you want that fulfillment and the fake or replica kits or whatever you want to call it, and there's a million different names for them now. If that is the road you choose to go down, that's fine, as long as you're not getting stooged thinking you're paying. Say if a shirt's $300 Australian and you're paying $150 for a shirt that's really probably only worth $20 or $30.
That's the silly part.
Yeah, that's where you've got to be a bit more cautious. I don't think it's worth it. I really think you need to be more considerate about these sort of things. There's thousands of Instagram and online sellers that are selling replica kits, and if you get yourself, you can get yourself in the same rabbit hole buying $130 kits as you can buying one, $300 one. So it's much of a muchness. But at the end of the day, I think as long as your mental health is not at risk purely because of your obsession with the kits, feel free to like them, enjoy it, and make the most, because the community is great. There's so many great accounts, great people.
No one's gonna judge you if you don't get a certain kit. You don't need to get every single. It's not Pokemon. We don't need to catch them all. No. Basically, there's no no pun intended, but we don't need to catch them all. You don't need every single item on the list. Just because Colt, Classic, yourself, PFC, TSPN, just because we say, look, there's an amazing kit coming out tomorrow, for example, the Nigeria kit, there was so many of want for the first one in 2018, and then 2020's version. There's still a lot of them available. There's heaps of stock available for that item, but a lot of us rushed and bought it full price. Okay, I'll be honest. I really fucked up. I bought an Inter Milan third kit for $200, and now it's on sale for $170. I could have waited. So this is what I'm trying to say is, yeah, you can collect kits, you can buy kits, but there's no real pressure, and there shouldn't be a pressure of buying these things because you don't need it today. You don't need it tomorrow. You can always get one.
Yeah, look, there's no rush. I think that it's interesting too because I've seen a few accounts floating around online. I know Rick FSC is one who works out little loopholes in terms of ways to get them from overseas for a discounted price.
Of course, there's a lot of them. Kitsabaya is really
correct.
good.
Yeah, so I think there's definitely ways to get around those. Look, whether you pay 20% less, 10% less, whatever it is, like hey, any discounts bonus, right? But yeah, look, there's no pressure to be buying that.
This is an addiction.
Yeah, true. But that's that's a physical addiction too, because you become a craving, and that's another thing altogether. And that's socially acceptable, which is a concern.
Coffee. No, good point on that. And there are a lot of us out there that do work in a manner of helping us to save the money. So kits are always going to be available. Like, nonetheless, there's always going to be a kit, whether it's new or old. Do you have anything to add to that sort of scenario?
Yeah, look, I think even it's interesting looking at the price of things and how they fluctuate, and in particular how it's increased, especially obviously for me looking at it from a vintage sense, but how the prices have changed over the last 12 months compared to even over the last 4 years. There's definitely been a dramatic increase.
Yeah,
and obviously that comes with demand, right? And I think the same thing's to be said about new kits. So obviously like you said, the vapor version of that Interkit coming out at $200 Australian is crazy money, but at the same time, the demand is there, and then the quality of the material as well, which is obviously why you pay the difference.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely overpriced for sure. I guess, look, if the fan version is accessible and it's at a reasonable price, fine. Because then at the end of the day, the ones that can afford it will go and buy the player version. I think it definitely needs to be looked at because it's 120 or 60 pounds or whatever the going rate is for a fan version kit. I don't think is justified, especially when you consider a lot of countries that are football mad. Like you compare, say the South Americas. I guarantee not every person is going to be paying that, and that's probably not even the rate that they pay. I guarantee it's probably less.
Look, I think the price of an item is really justified to the society we live in now. I'm a huge fan of Jeremy Lorenzo's brand called Essential, and basically a beige hoodie that just says Essential is about 400 Australian dollars. Now, do I need that hoodie? No, I don't need it. I actually don't need it. Sam Kerr posted a photo with her cupboard, and it was 6 or 7 just Essential jumpers. And I was like to my wife, I'm like, I fucking want one of those jumpers. I think this is the problem with the prices. We don't even look at the prices. We just buy the things. And I think this is why I wanted to talk about this today, this subject, is that it's almost like we turn a blind eye, or we just don't look at the price when we're buying these things. And then when we buy 1, 3, 6, 10, 21 in 1 week, and we're like, well, I've just spent my family's wages, the weekly grocery, look, I'm about to have a child, and I'm going to have to cut back on a lot of my sort of leisure things. I'm not saying I want to be a boring person and not do anything in life. But if I want to be able to, give this kid a good life, I'm going to have to cut some things. And I'm sure Rick can also testify to this because he's got, I think, 2 or 3 kids. Sorry, Rick, if you've got 1 and I've just said you've got 3. But honestly, I think it's just about understanding where to almost tell yourself when when
this is
not
the line,
to.
right?
When
this is enough. This is my limit, even if it's for the week or for the month or for 3 months, right? Set yourself, you give yourself a budget. I'm no financial advisor either, but
no.
At the same
Look,
time,
every advice we give today, it's more just the conversation. Do seek any sort of help out there.
yeah, obviously, yeah, definitely seek professional help. Obviously, if you especially if you're having
And friends.
issues.
Friends are always good to help.
Yeah.
Conversations like this is always good. Open conversations about any topic in life is always good. Better to open up than sometimes hold it. I think, look, the 3 things I wanted to just say now, and hopefully we can just finish off the subject. But it's 1, if a new kit comes out or if a retro kit is on sale, think about it. If you're going to buy it, there's nothing stopping you, in a way that, you can buy it. But I think always have a second opinion about something you need. I'm sure we've all done that thing where we've bought something and then
Impulse
said,
buys.
impulse buys.
Yeah.
I know going to the shops and we're like, oh, do I need another white T-shirt? Do I need another? So that's 1. 2, it's, always seek help with friends and always have a conversation with someone before you go into something blindsided. And I think the third and final thing would be just because someone else is collecting or buying a certain thing like cars or shoes or anything like trendy, so like socially accepted, doesn't mean we need to follow them in that scenario.
No,
Like
correct.
you do you at your own pace.
I think one point that I wouldn't mind adding to that actually as well is to do your research. You know, whether it's seeing what the value of that whatever item is, or seeing if it's available elsewhere for a better price or comparable price at least. You know, wherever you can look after yourself, you need to look after yourself at the end of the day. So you need to make sure that you've got that stability behind you.
Yeah. Look, so the reason why I wanted to talk about this subject as well is I follow a few people on Twitter, and shout out to Alice Platten from Away Days. I think he posted something saying that people were blaming him because they've gotten addicted to buying jerseys. And like, I know people are going to probably message us and be like, how do you collect so many jerseys? How do you have so many jerseys? And I am not someone who buys a lot of things. And I think when I started buying kits, I bought way too many. Yeah. And that was my problem. I noticed that I go on eBay and I'm like, I'm going to just bid so many things. And like one thing may be 80, but then if you buy 10 things at 80, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that's what I want to do is that the Twitter post that I saw, someone had just bought, I think, 6 items from eBay, and he posted a photo of 6 random Royal Mail posts. And someone in the comments said, stop buying so many kits, you're making me want to buy more. And then it sort of seemed like a bit of a humor, like joking manner. Yeah. But I think a few people actually agreed with him and said, hey, you're making the rest of us look bad. Don't buy so many kits type of thing. And it's almost like, like
you're comparing apples with oranges. Like, at the end of the day, if someone wants to go and buy it, buy it. But if you think it's the wrong thing to do, it's your choice. You keep it to yourself. Like, your opinion's fine, but you're more entitled to have it. But at the same time, you don't need to push that on anyone else.
Yeah, that's the beauty of collecting anything in life. I think people always, like, I'm sure we have friends that collect cars. And like a friend of mine bought one in the US, and it's an amazing Chev. Like, I love the car. I probably would not know anything about cars, so I wouldn't know the value. But he did his research and brought it over. And look, cars are something where you spend a lot of money, and I know nothing about it, so I don't know what I'm talking about right now. But you spend a lot of money, and then sometimes you don't even sell it, and you've just spent all this money into something that you love.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, even you mentioned about Bitcoin and those current
that's
cryptocurrencies.
That's cryptocurrency.
The online currencies.
So yeah, as you can tell, we both know nothing about crypto.
But it's just investing, right? Like, you need to know what you're dealing with. You need to know what you're buying. So whether it's football kits, cryptocurrencies, cars, regardless, you need to know what you're dealing with. So that's what I was saying before. Do your research, because the more you know, the more you're going to be informed, the more you're going to know about, the market value, whether it's likely to fluctuate, whether it's likely to increase or decrease. I know a lot of these things aren't as predictable as you'd like them to be a lot of the time. But at least if you know enough, it's at least some sort of safe backing.
Look, I think crypto is one of those things where you need to do a lot of research. Like, you can go into it and then make big mistakes. I don't want to get into it. Like, I don't want to touch eToro. I downloaded it because my brother and my dad do it, and like, they always talk positive, and I've got a good friend who does it as well. But I don't think I could mentally do it, and I've said to myself, I don't want to touch it. And even Chantel, my wife, has said, she goes, you don't really need to do that. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't need to touch it. Yeah. Like, I've got my hobby now. I like buying kits. And when we talk about the value of a kit, I know, like, if I buy something, maybe in a couple of years I could sell it and get my money back. And that's the beauty of this sort of creative collecting scene. It's like the Pokemon cards. Man, and like, one of the YouTubers I watch, Sidemen, Mini Minter, one of them, he just bought an Arcanine. It's a dog. Sorry if you don't know Pokemon. I know Pokemon. He bought an Arcanine. It's a dog evolved Pokemon. He bought it for like £2,000.
Jesus.
For a card.
This is crazy, right? It's amazing. That whole card scene, obviously, I think it was all around the same time as the kid scene blew up in, probably was like, say, March-ish of last year. That whole card scene, whether it was, basketball. Oh my God. That's a good movie, actually. Baseball for football. As in, like, American football, Pokemon, and like the works. Even, like, I've seen Disney books and stuff like that. That's just, it's blown up. Like, the prices are ridiculous at the moment. Fun story, actually. My mum has been hounding me to take these Pokemon cards because she didn't want to let go of them from when we were kids. I went there the other day.
Still have them?
Yeah, I went there the other day. I was like, I'll take these. Thanks.
I need to have a look at those. Okay, I need to verify them. I promise you I won't run away with one. Actually, I just had a good thought. I think a couple of years ago there was a massive issue with FIFA and Foot Coins, the Ultimate Team. And there was a lot of kids getting their parents' cards and spending all their parents' or even their own money
And
on
then there was the
Ultimate
inverse.
Team.
I think there was people selling their coins online.
Yeah. So like when you think about it, like football kits can seem terrible when you spend all your money on them, but there's worse things out there. I think
100%.
even with like buying things on Fortnite and all these sort of like
Yeah.
upgrades. So look, end of the day, you do everything at your own pace. Hey, we've got a bit of an intruder here. Don't be sorry, it's all good. I think he wanted to be a part of the episode.
The perks of public recording.
Now they're running away. What was I going to say? Yeah, foot coins. That's about it from my end.
Yeah, look, I think this is investing, right? At the end of the day, whether you're collecting something because you enjoy it or you're collecting something because you think it's valuable. You know, my grandpa collected coins for his entire life.
And they never sold it, though. They never made any profit.
He passed them on to us, and then it was like, I think it's like a hype thing too, right? Like, so maybe when he was collecting, you know, having a whole set of them would have been worth something. But now for us, you know, these football kits are actually worth something. So it's great to be able to
I have those coins as well. I probably should check them and see their value.
Yeah, I'm sure there'd be someone that it would mean something too. So I think that's what we're sort of getting at. Like, you know, now all of a sudden these things are actually worth something to people. So the demand is there. So the price increases.
Yeah.
So once the demand drops off, that'll be interesting to see how it goes.
We'll see what happens with the kit scene. We spoke about this, and we speak about this a lot of times, the kit scene in a couple of years. Because in 2017, like I said, Vice Mag did say there's an increase in sales. And I think there was like, when Pogba had signed at United, they sold about 2 million units of just United kits with his name, and in that period of time of sales. And you think about it, like a lot of kits sales, so the manufacturers are making a lot of money, and they are feeding the beast. Us being the beast, like they just give us and we buy. I think going forward with myself as well, this is personally a personal sort of statement now, I am going to think a bit more about my purchases. I think we said this in the last episode, and I am going to be a bit more, thoughtful with where my money goes.
Yeah, I think it's important. You know, you, me, and everyone, I think it's important to, be considerate, right? In saying that, like, I personally love doing this. Like, I think it's great fun. It's nostalgic for me, and that's why I'm in it for this. Like, it's the reason why I do what I do. But I'm not. I know that I personally set aside a certain amount that I can spend, and whether it's for me or for PFC, personal or business or either way. There is always a budget in mind. Regardless.
Always, yeah.
So I think it's important for everyone to take that into consideration.
When I bought that 400 Australian dollar PSG top, I had to think about it. I even spoke to you, remember?
Yeah.
I was like, hey, mate, do I get this or do I get that? And we both agreed that the PSG would be a much more valuable investment. Yeah. I've only worn it a few times, but I think it's one of my favorite kits. And this is like the process now that I'll be taking with a lot of my purchases. This one, actually, that I'm wearing today, I bought it in December. And I said to my wife, I'm going to buy 2 things for Christmas. And that's my 2 purchases for December.
Yeah, nice.
I haven't bought anything in January yet. Just trying to think if that's a lie. No, I have not bought anything yet. I've only bought 1 kit for a friend, which I bought off you for the said person. But that's the thing. Like, I think now my collection, I said in an episode coming up, I want to basically base my collection now on the 91-92 season of sort of the global team, to base it on my birthday or birth year.
Nice.
I think that's where we all take our own collections, and I think it's just about having that thought before you spend that money now.
Yeah, definitely. It's an interesting point you make, actually, because I'm trying to think of it from my own stance. Like, why do I buy specific kits? Like, what's the reason behind it?
I'm sure we've all bought the shit kit, and we're like, fuck.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. Like, the amount of kits that I've bought, and like, I've regretted it. So I think when we were in Japan together, I bought that Alessandro Nesta kit, and I was like, amazing shirt, really cool. At the time, great concept. I've never worn it. Actually, no, I lie. I wore it once. And it's skin tight because it's that Kappa material that's like elastic.
And lockdown weight.
Yeah, and lockdown weight. So add that to it. So I literally look like a marshmallow. Because it's the away kit, so it's white.
Well, it's actually a really nice kit. I bought the Urawa Reds top with Escobar. Don't know who Escobar is. I have no clue who he is.
It's Pablo's son.
But I've never worn it, but I wanted something from Japan. Yeah. So to me, it was special for that reason.
Yeah.
But I bought the Leon kit in Japan. Why did I buy the Leon kit in Japan? So that's my thing now. Like we've all done this issue. So like we'll wrap it up. It's been about 29 minutes for this episode. Is there anything you want to say before we end it off? Like, I'll have a send-off after you, but...
I think, look, just be careful. You know, at the end of the day, do your research, look into everything, find as much info on that shirt or item or whatever it is you're collecting before you go and spend, you know, your hard-earned on it.
Yeah, no, good point. Honestly, from one collector to other collectors or even future collectors, if you're listening to this in a time that, you know, you're driving home, buying kits is fun. Buying kits is awesome, and it becomes a way of meeting new friends and being a part of a community. It's all fun and games. I think all I want to say today is just, take a step back, look at your process, and, you know, make the decision with a bit more of a thought before you go deep into it with your, you know, pockets, because it's hard-earned cash. It's 6 hours of work, it's 1 hour of work, it's a month worth of work.
Yeah, correct.
That's what I'm trying to say is like, and yeah, look, don't be scared to reach out. Finding help is always a good thing, and it's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely important that, you know, you do, you know, recognizing that you're struggling is one thing. I think that's the first step, obviously. But
Look, struggle or not, like I think we can be happy people and still do silly things.
Yeah, of course.
But it's more so just having that. It's like that two voices in your head. It's like making sure that you're both thinking in a way that you don't have that thought, but it's more of a thought like, spend my money, save it, spend next
it's that
time.
whole conscience, like you got the evil one on one side.
Look, and this hopefully this episode doesn't offend anyone for that purpose, but I think it was just more of a manner of a subject where a lot of people are scared or in that scenario, and we just want to say we're out here if you want to talk. We're both always open to DMs, so don't be scared to slide into our DM, say hello. And yeah, look, that's about it.
Yeah, it's nice to be back.
Yeah, it is. I'm really excited. Look, 2021 is going to be really exciting for this channel. I've got a few episodes and stories. Anything for PFC that you want to shout out before we end it?
Yeah, we're going to be running a few games and things. We did one the other day, and I think it was pretty successful and a bit of fun for everyone. So we might do a few more online. So if you can keep in tune with the social media, it'd be good.
We should do like a little sneaky, mentions to, like future episode topics. So if you are watching on YouTube, let us know if you like the scenario. But maybe we should put a call out there. If you want us to go into a different scenario, please let us know. Like the settings aren't a scenario.
Yeah, absolutely.
Different setting. Let us know. If you want us to go in the middle of nowhere, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, we'll give it a crack.
If you want us to go to a beach, I think that will be exciting. While you were speaking, I was thinking of different things I can say. But also, if you're listening to this as a podcast on Spotify, thank you so much. It means a lot.
Yeah,
hopefully our voices are interesting and hopefully no background sound.
Hopefully.
But anything you want to ask them to put in the comments? Any questions? Any answers?
I reckon it'd be actually interesting to get other collectors on this. I think
Yeah,
it'd be
I love
good to get
that.
a third person.
I'd love to get your
incorporate.
thoughts. So if you're in Melbourne, of course, no travelling.
Yeah, so
But even if we did Skype sessions, Zoom sessions, who uses Skype? If you have Zoom and you're a collector and you watch this, feel free to reach out. We'd love to have you on the channel.
yes, well, what's the old call? You know when you used to like be in primary school and you used to call like 4 of your friends via the corded phone? Do you remember that? I don't know what it's called.
MSN?
Not MSN, not online. It's a phone.
I don't know.
I don't know what it's called. It's
I
like a
don't
group call of some sort. We'll group call you, whatever that is.
Zoom chat. Leave it at that.
Yeah, sure.
All right. What's your sign off? Have you thought of one yet?
No, I need to think of one. I think I didn't like the one I did last week.
You can just leave your mic and walk off, but I'll say mine. Stay safe. Stay away from stupid people, and we'll both see you in the next episode. Thank you. Goodbye.